Straight ahead on 12 News, a 2-alarm fire destroys a Maple Grove home.
There were just flames everywhere. I mean, there's no way to stop it.
Then, an occupation dominated by men, but maybe not for long. But first, the debate over taxes could lead to a big increase for smokers. 12 News starts right now. By the time this year's legislative session wraps up, one thing appears certain. Minnesotans are looking at higher taxes.
The House version of the tax bill raises taxes on higher income earners, closes corporate loopholes, and increases taxes on alcohol and tobacco. Delane Cleveland joins us now with more. Delane?
Mike and Renee, the DFL majority has a list of session priorities and campaign promises they want to fulfill, but they come with a price tag of more than $2.5 billion. Some of the way to raise that money would be to increase taxes on cigarettes by $1.60 per pack.
Very few revenue generators have tremendous public health benefits, but raising tobacco prices is one thing that does. Tobacco use is impacted by price. Cheap tobacco products are particularly attractive and more accessible to youth. Raising the price will keep these deadly products beyond their reach.
Representative Mike Freiberg spoke on the House floor Wednesday to express his support for the tobacco tax. If the proposal becomes law, Minnesota's cigarette tax would be similar to what they have in Iowa, Wisconsin, and South Dakota. The cigarette tax, along with an increased alcohol tax, would generate $780 million. However, some Republican state lawmakers argue that the DFL was going too far with its tax increases.
We're doing it on the backs of citizens. We're asking them to pay $2.6 billion in tax increases. That's what we're debating here today. You're growing government by over 11%. That's a huge increase in spending that we're talking about. And we're doing it at a time where folks don't have any extra cash on hand.
The House debated the omnibus tax bill for nearly 9 hours before passing it without a single Republican vote. The $2.5 billion in tax increases would pay back the $850 million owed to schools, erase the state's projected $627 million budget deficit, and provide some property tax relief. Meantime, the Senate is debating a significantly different tax plan. State lawmakers will likely spend the final days of the session negotiating a final budget agreement. Mike and Renee?
Delane, thank you. A Maple Grove home appears to be a total loss after a devastating fire Wednesday night.
Neighbors watched, but there was little they could do.
It was amazing. I mean, there was just fire everywhere.
It broke out after 7 in the 7700 block of Cheshire Lane. Investigators believe the fire was accidental, but they were there today sifting through what's left in an effort to track down the cause of the blaze. The home had just been sold, but the former owner still lived there. Officials say she was in the kitchen when she heard smoke alarms and found the fire in the living room.
I feel so bad. She was in the house at the time that it happened, and our neighbor across the street over here came over to try and help out, and they were trying to get the car out of the garage, but they weren't able to get the car out of the garage. So as you can see, I mean, everything, you know.
According to Hennepin County tax records, the house was valued at $243,000. Nobody was hurt in the blaze.
An investigator with the Hennepin County Sheriff's Department testified Thursday in the Eddie Mosley murder trial. Mosley is accused of fatally shooting DeLois Brown and her elderly parents in their Brooklyn Park home last April. Mosley showed little emotion as the prosecution showed gruesome pictures from the crime scene. The court also heard from a forensic scientist who worked on the case. Although a gun was never recovered, the expert testified the bullets found at the scene came from a Glock pistol. The defense has not yet begun to present its case. In this job market, any field that boasts endless opportunities sounds pretty good. So
it caught our attention when we heard that Hennepin Technical College in Brooklyn Park offers training for this promising field called fluid power. And as Alexandra Renslow reports, women are wanted.
My favorite tool would be this. It's basically a volt-ohm meter.
In a world of tools and components.
And then we have the push buttons. Then we have our timers.
Maggie Finney has always had a mind for the mechanical.
And my mom would be like, okay, we're gonna draw these pictures today. And I'm like, Mom, this is not cool. Can we go build a car with Dad?
Finney is one of just 3 women among the 150 students in Hennepin Tech's Fluid Power program.
This is an incredible field for everyone, male, female. It just happens that it's male dominated currently.
It'll lift the load, and when you get it to where you want it to, it'll stop and it'll hold it in place.
Fluid Power is the behind-the-scenes technology that makes stuff work. Think hydraulics, programmable controllers, and electrical.
It's everywhere. You took advantage of it to get to work today. Driving your car, you have power steering, you have power brakes.
There's different sequences to make it go side to side, up and down, front to back.
Fluid Power gives this toy vehicle its lift. Jobs await students in industries like automotive, aerospace, and energy. Salaries start anywhere from $35,000 to $60,000, with major companies like Eaton, Medtronic, and Toro hiring folks in the field of fluid power.
I've talked to several companies, but I'm not sure where I want to go yet. But it's open. I could go pretty much anywhere.
So it's really a very unique area, lots of opportunities for men and women.
So who are you working with? Instructor Janine Euling got her start in the 1990s. She wants more women to consider fluid power for the different perspective they bring.
So we meld these unique viewpoints together and design even better equipment.
For Maggie Finney, this field is a good fit, and nothing beats the feeling of getting something to work.
I would say satisfied is really below par on the feeling when you actually get it to work 100%. I mean, we're jumping up and down like, no way, we got this.
In Brooklyn Park, Alexandra Renslow, 12 News.
Instructors say fluid power isn't an easy field, but if you're mechanically inclined, could be a good fit.
A local teen already knows what she wants to do when she grows up. Abigail Harrison aspires to be an astronaut. That's why they call her Astronaut Abby. Today she talked with students at Robbinsdale's School of Engineering and Arts. The 15-year-old is hoping to launch some passion for math and science.
Sometimes science and math are seen as a drag when they're really not. They're amazing and interesting subjects, and it just takes getting into it at a younger age.
In a few weeks, Abby heads to Kazakhstan, where she'll see the launch of a Russian spaceship that's headed to the International Space Station. Abby will be in close contact with one of the astronauts on board. Pretty cool.
How about at 15?
Oh, exactly. Coming up, we'll get an update on efforts to keep local youth out of trouble.
And later in sports, it's a battle of Plymouth schools as Wayzata takes on Armstrong in softball indoors.
But first, it's your AccuWeather forecast. Reaching out to young people to keep them out of trouble has been a common theme in Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park for the past several years. Now a partnership designed to help do that has a new leader. Mike has more on that.
Well, thanks. I'm with Rebecca Gilgan, the new director for the Brooklyn Bridge Alliance for Youth. And Rebecca, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, this group was formed about 4 years ago to address crime problems, really, in Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center. Is that still the goal, and has that changed?
Well, the original goal really emerged from identifying that young people were involved in criminal activity. Since then, it really has evolved to better understand how do we connect young people after school across the schools, our parks, and our cities, and other programs and opportunities. So how do we really get young people involved in positive things?
Okay. Now, this group is made up of the two cities, Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center. You've got like 4 school districts and a couple of colleges.
And Hennepin County.
And Hennepin County. So there's all these groups with programs, and they need someone, I guess, to kind of coordinate it, and that's your job.
Right. Our partners are champions at delivering services and programs for young people. The role of the Alliance, the reason why they've convened this work, is to help increase the resources that they have, help coordinate across their programs, but also to improve program quality.
What is the challenge then in keeping kids connected, keeping kids interested in this so that they are, you have a hand in pushing them the right way in life?
There's lots of barriers that youth and families face in participating in after school. The number one barrier that we've learned through doing some community research has been that young people are not aware. Parents aren't aware of the opportunities that are out there. So this is one of the key activities that the Alliance will be doing. It's helping promote these opportunities to families and youth. Other barriers they mentioned were the cost of the program, as well as
And transportation, getting there. If
right.
you don't have transportation, how do you participate?
Right, exactly.
How do you go about keeping the programs high quality so kids want to go?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
if it's something that's just boring and they don't want to be there, you're not going to reach
That's
them, are you?
exactly right. Young people, our school partners will tell you that kids vote with their feet. And so a lot of the Alliance partners already know how critical program quality is. And so this is a broader conversation, not just with individual partners like the schools or the parks, but across all of those organizations so that we can raise the quality throughout our entire city. So that if a young person walks into the Hennepin County Library, they're experiencing a high quality program. When they walk into the schools, they're experiencing a high quality program.
All right, Rebecca Gilgan with the Brooklyn
thank you.
Bridge Alliance for Youth. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Now back to you.
Thanks, Mike. Coming up, a standout student who lends a hand at home and abroad. And up next in sports, Terry Tuma tells us how the late arrival of spring might affect the fishing opener. John Jacobson has that and more when we come back.
I'm John Jacobson with sports. Spring sports teams are finally getting outside to compete in their respective sports. Field conditions in Plymouth, though, kept the Armstrong and Wayzata softball teams indoors one more day. The Trojans and Falcons meeting at the Plymouth Creek Dome. First batter of the game for Wayzata is Steph Kirk, and she laces a hit to the gap. That one rolls a while. Kirk hustles all the way to third for a leadoff triple. She later scores on an error for a 1-0 lead. Still in the first, Anna Buell with a base hit to right scores 2, including Ronnie Angel. The Trojans lead 8-1 after 1 inning. Top of the second, Anna Gimmelstead beats out this ground ball for an infield hit. Reagan Paler scores for a 10-1 Wayzata lead. The Trojans also make some nice plays in the field. Dying quail off the bat of Michaela Galdonic. Ellie Rod with a nice diving catch. Wayzata goes on to win 12-1-5 in the season opener for both teams. Armstrong's boys lacrosse team is coming off a solid season in which they tied for the Northwest Suburban Conference title. Youth Lacrosse Night as the Falcons hosting Coon Rapids. Noah Cohen on the move for Armstrong. He weaves through the Cardinals defense before unleashing a bullet. That ties the game at 1-1. It's 2-2 after 1 quarter. Second quarter, Christopher Arneson flips the pass to Brenneth Compsobath, and he scores. 3-2 Falcons. Tied at 4, Cowan takes the pass, smokes the shot up high and in. Armstrong leads this one 7-5 at halftime. And they get a little breathing room as Cowan puts another one on the board. Armstrong gets the only 2 goals of the third quarter to lead 9-5. They control the pace of this one. The pass comes out front to Compsobath for the goal as Armstrong wins 11-6. to improve to 2-0 in the conference. It's been a struggle even for boys tennis teams to get any matches in. Maple Grove's ranked in the top 5 coming into the season. J.C. Lippold's Crimson were at home to face his alma mater, Champlin Park. Mikhail Mula serving for Champlin Park, a #1 singles, then comes in. Zach Atkins fires the forehand passing shot on his way to a 6-1, 6-love win for Maple Grove. To first doubles, Hunter Frederick serves. Rory Calabria with the return winner for the Crimson. Calabria and Jacob Endres beat Frederick and Andy Hodick in straight sets. Maple Grove rolls to a 7-0 win in the season opener for both teams. Patty Sorensen has resigned after 15 seasons as the head girls basketball coach at Park Center High School. The Pirates finished as Section 3, 3A runners-up in each of the past 3 seasons. We'll hear from her Friday starting at 4 here on 12 News. The weather is finally turning nice, but late ice out and cold water temperatures are sure to affect Minnesota's walleye opener now just 2 weeks away. I asked pro angler Terry Tuma about this unusual spring from the shores of Medicine Lake in Plymouth.
Well, I think, John, really what's going to happen here is that we're going to see ice out locally, especially in the southern part of the state, in the next few days, even this weekend, especially in the Twin City area. And then as we go further north, obviously the big conversation is Lake of the Woods. Even Mille Lacs is going to be questionable. But Lake of the Woods, Leech, Winnie, some of those lakes probably are not going to be ice-free at this time. Of course, you know, the other factors too, Mother Nature can change this so fast that we could see some 75-degree weather, some rain and some wind, a lot of sun, and it can deteriorate like right now.
That walleye opener is just over 2 weeks away, Terry. So what's your advice to people that may be planning a trip to Mille Lacs or further north, looking out and trying to figure out whether or not they should go fishing or where they can go fishing?
Well, I think first of all, I would just sort of monitor. I already spoke to some people. They already changed plans from going further north to further south. So that's one factor. The other is, it's just monitor the weather conditions. I would definitely make some phone calls ahead of time. But we should be able to tell just by looking at weather conditions. For instance, there's 40 inches of ice up on Mille Lacs. I should say on Lake of the Woods. I'm not sure exactly how much on Mille Lacs. I'm sure it's in the 30s. I just spoke to an angler that was in Battle Lake over the last couple of days, and he said there was 31 inches of ice there. So plus we got all the snow on top of the ice. That has to melt first. So it's going to be just wise to monitor weather conditions, and make a few phone calls, and then too, especially here and further south, if depending on water temperature is going to be a big factor, but it might be an idea we can do some crappie fishing.
Thanks, Terry. That's it for sports. Mike and Renee are back in a moment.
Well, finally, she gets good grades and is very active in the community.
Maranatha senior Alexa Dava has a long list of accolades. Sonia Goins introduces us to this week's Standout Student.
These are indeed special times for Alexa Dava. The Maranatha senior has a lot on her plate, but she always manages to excel in school and in outside activities. Music is just one of her passions. She's played the piano since she was 7.
I've been keeping up in the worship ministry at our church, playing keys, and then also here at the school with the chapel band.
When she's not tickling the ivories, she's helping out in the community. She recently went to Mexico to work in an orphanage.
You go down there to be a blessing, but the reality is that I feel like we get so much more blessed.
She's very active in the Filipino community here in Minnesota. She won an academic scholarship from the Phil Minnesota Debutante Ball.
By God's grace, I received it last year.
The straight-A student says English is one of her favorite subjects.
Getting good grades is a reflection of the standards you set for yourself.
Her English teacher says she has a gift for writing.
I can't wait to read her writing whenever I assign a writing project. I'm always I put hers on the bottom because I always kind of want to see what she's going to bring out next because she always brings a different twist.
Alexa is also senior class vice president. She says her faith is the foundation for her success.
I wouldn't be able to do any of these things if I didn't know that God was on my side, working on my behalf to do these kind of things.
In Brooklyn Park, Sonia Goins, 12 News.
Alexa will attend Wheaton College in the fall. She says she wants to study international relations or education. A minute and a half isn't enough for all her accolades.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.